Hey guys, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to Travel and Live Free. In this video series, we're going to cover the topic on how to save money on travel for Canadians. We're also going to talk about topics on how to travel around the world as a Canadian. And finally, we're going to cover topics on how to earn income online as a Canadian so that if you want to keep traveling and you don't want to go back home, then you can do just that because you can work from your laptop, still earn income, and have the freedom to keep traveling for as long as you want. Now in this video, we're going to cover the topic on how to prepare for an around the world travel. So we're talking about long-term travel, meaning it could be 6 months, 1 year, or even longer. Specifically, we're going to cover 1 year. And what you're going to learn here is the 10 steps that you need to take to prepare you for the big 1 year trip around the world. So without further delay, let's go to the tutorial video right now. Hi there. Welcome to the tutorial video on the 10 steps to traveling around the world. How to plan and prepare for your big around the world journey. Here's what you're getting today. You're going to learn how much money you need to travel around the world. You're going to see what a typical pre-trip preparation timeline looks like. And you're going to learn how to build up your savings quicker so you can travel much sooner. Here's why this is important. It's going to make it easier for you to plan your big trip. You'll also see step by step what you need to do in order to make this dream trip a reality. And it will make it easier for you to keep your eye on the prize and stay motivated because you'll know exactly where you are during the preparation stage to your big journey around the world. Step number 1, determine how much money you need. It costs about $50 US per day on average to travel around the world. And I can personally relate to this amount because after I finished traveling around the world and I did the calculation on how much money I spent, it came to roughly about 48 US per day. So on average, it's going to cost you 50 US. Now, if you plan on traveling for 1 year, that's going to be $18,250, which is 365 days multiplied by $50 US. Now, you can travel for much less if you are an extreme budget backpacker. If you are hitchhiking or sleeping in tents, doing a lot of camping, definitely will cut a lot of the costs. But in general, if you're staying in hostels or guest houses, then it's going to be about 50 US per day. Now, the more activities you participate in and the more sightseeing you do, the more money you're going to need, especially if you plan on staying at nicer accommodations. So if you stay at the cheapest hostels, then it's going to be much cheaper than if you stayed at a hotel, for example. Next, we're going to go to step number 2, where we are going to determine your pre-trip timeline. So 1 year before traveling around the world, you want to ask yourself, why am I traveling? Why am I doing this? Are you trying to find yourself? Are you trying to go to all the bucket list places that you've always wanted to see? Or maybe you don't want to have any regrets and be one of those people that said, I wish I got a chance to go see the world and travel instead of working so much. So whatever your reason is, go figure it out 1 year before you leave to go on the journey. And I'm using 1 year because maybe you plan on traveling for 1 year. So you are going to want to plan for 1 year to go on this big journey. Now, you don't have to travel for 1 year. This is just an example. So if you want to travel shorter, then maybe you need less time to prepare. But for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to use 1 year. Now, we're also going to estimate the cost of your trip. And we've already done that in step 1, which is $18,250 if you plan on traveling for 1 year. And if you plan on traveling less, just take $50 US and multiply it by the number of days you plan on traveling. Go create a budget too and kind of break down how much money you want to spend on the major things that you want to see during your trip. Now, 6 to 12 months before traveling, you want to decide on the travel destinations that you want to hit. Use your imaginations and don't miss out on any places that you actually want to see. So you go nuts and just put down on a big list of all the places that you want to travel to. And we're going to do our best to make sure that you can get yourself there. Next, you're going to check your passport validity to make sure there are no last minute problems when it's time for you to leave and travel. And of course, you're going to work hard and earn as much money as possible and save as much money as possible before you travel, because essentially, if you don't have any money, you can't travel. Now, 3 to 6 months in before you leave to travel around the world, you will want to book your flight. And I'm going to go into detail about that later on. And the other thing is that you need to apply for visas. And one of the reasons why you want to apply for your visas 3 to 6 months before traveling is because some visas take a while to process. I'll give you an example that actually was a huge problem for me because I did not get a visa ahead of time, and it was when I went to Brazil. So I wanted to go to Brazil, but turns out if I wanted to get a visa while I was in Colombia, it would have taken me 30 days to get that visa. And it took me a long time to figure out how to get a visa faster. And I could have saved myself this headache and extra money if I had gotten the visa in my home country before I had left to travel. So go ahead and get your visas before traveling to save you some time and headache once you're actually on the road. So 2 months before you leave to travel, you want to notify your landlord that you're gonna be leaving. Or if you have your own place, you want to go rent it out on places like Airbnb or rent it out to a friend so that you can make some side money while you are away traveling. You should also sell off a lot of the stuff that you no longer need so that you can earn money much faster. And and you probably want to sell your car before you travel, because if it just sits in your garage or somewhere park for the entire year, then it's probably not going to be the best thing for your car, not to mention depreciation. Now, 1 month before you leave to travel around the world, you're going to want to get your vaccinations. Chances are you're going to go to some countries where there's a chance that you could get sick, and the best way to prevent that sickness from happening is just to get vaccinated before you leave your country. You also want to redirect your mail so that either one of your relative will get it and then they can tell you if you got any important mail, and at least you can stay on the loop while you are away. 2 weeks before traveling, you want to notify your bank that you're traveling so that they won't shut off your bank account all of a sudden if you're trying to withdraw money from your debit card. Scan all your important documents. That way, you have a backup in case you lose them or in case you need to refer back to them. Store your stuff, either put it in your parents' home or go to rent a storage locker or put it in a friend's garage or basement, or better yet, sell them off. Finally, make a packing list of all the stuff that you need to pack in your bag so that you're ready to go when it's time to leave. Now, 1 week before leaving to travel, pack up all your stuff in your bag so you know if they fit. Get the foreign currencies that you need, and at this case, it's probably going to be US dollars because that's going to be the easiest one to change in most countries. And make sure you eat your favorite food because you're going to miss it. Trust me. Okay, we're moving on to step number 3. Generate a list of places you want to visit. It's time to create a super bucket list of dream destination you will want to visit. Make sure to include all the countries, cities, sites, and trekking that you want to see so that you don't miss anything out. Write down all the stuff that you want to do, like live like a local in a foreign country, do some volunteer work, go sightseeing, short-term work, or any other activities that you enjoy. And use your imaginations. Don't leave anything out, because when you're planning where you want to go, you want to make sure that you're hitting all these dream bucket list places as you go along. This is going to be the best trip of your life, and make sure you don't miss any of the places that you've always wanted to see. Okay, step number 4, earn money faster. One of the best ways for you to earn money faster is just to get a second job. When I was saving up to travel, I actually had 3 jobs because that was the fastest way for me to earn money. And it did work. Now, I was tired a lot of times, but I was able to save money faster and I was able to go on my dream trip. So it was definitely worth it, and I would recommend it just for that 1 year where you go nuts, just keep working, saving money, and make enough so you can go see all the places that you want to see. Now you also want to sell things off that you don't need, and you can go to places like Craigslist, Kijiji, or Facebook to sell your stuff. And that's exactly what I did also when I traveled, is I just sold off all my stuff in these three websites. Moving on to step number 5, save lots of money. So one of the best ways for you to save money quicker is by staying home instead of going out to eat, because cooking your own food is usually much cheaper and also healthier for you. Do free activities instead of paid. So maybe instead of going out to watch a movie, you can go home and read a book, or you can watch it on Netflix. You might also want to cancel any memberships that you have. So I'm not advocating that you cancel your gym membership, but maybe instead of going to that expensive commercial gym, maybe you want to go to a cheaper local community center. A big option is to move back to your parents' home. Um, this is not an option for everyone, and this is also not a pleasant option for a lot of people, because as much as you love your parents, I bet you that they will probably drive you nuts. So on one hand, this is the best option in terms of saving money, because you don't have to pay rent. And actually, this is what I did myself: is I moved back home and I save $1,000 a month in rent. But it wasn't my favorite thing to do, because I really like my independence. But like I said, this is short-term sacrifice for that big, awesome journey around the world. So maybe it's gonna be worth it for you to move back to your parents' house. Next, step number 6, pay off your debts. Now, this is an option. I personally did it, and I spent more than 1 year saving up money, because I was taking time to pay off my debt first before traveling. And I'm glad I did this option, because when I actually traveled, I wasn't thinking about the money I owe back home. So this depends entirely on your personality. I do work as a travel blogger for another blog. The person who owns that blog's wife traveled around the world with him while she was $30,000 in debt. So I'm not saying you should travel while you're in debt, but again, it depends on your personality and what your debt tolerance is at. Now, I have another friend who actually traveled around the world also, and she accumulated debt as a result. And then when she came back, she was more focused than ever, and she actually started her own business, and the business made so much money. And she attributes this from traveling around the world and actually going into debt. So again, like I said, this is going to be 100% dependent on your personality, and just know yourself before you leave to travel and see if you need to pay off your debt first, or if you're okay with having debt when you come back. Step number 7, build up your frequent flyer miles. So if you don't know what frequent flyer miles is, it's usually points that you get when you use your credit card, either in grocery stores or when you go buy something. And what you want to do during this 1 year or longer, and I bet you already have some miles saved up, is when you're buying something like food or groceries, go and use your credit card and accumulate those frequent flyer miles. Because when you travel around the world, you're going to want to use those miles to get yourself a cheap international flight. So start saving up those miles and go book your flight using the miles when you start traveling. Okay, step number 8, book your flight. So you want to book your flight actually sooner than later, because you don't want to give yourself an excuse to back out of your dream. So book your flight as soon as you have sufficient amount of money saved up. And I'm not talking about the entire amount that you need for your trip, but if you have at least 50% of the money already saved up, go book your flight. That way you can't back out, and you're going to work even harder to go save money, because you know that it's just a matter of time before you need to board that plane and finally go on your big adventure around the world. Step number 9, get your gears and vaccinations. So get all the necessary vaccinations that you need, and that's going to depend on which country you're going to go to. And in order to get the vaccinations, you want to go consult with a pharmacist and ask them which vaccinations you need before you leave to travel. You also want to get your backpack or luggage, and I suggest you use a backpack, but if you prefer luggage, that's also okay. Get your cameras. Either you're going to use your mobile phone to take a picture, a point and shoot, a DSLR if you are a serious photographer, and a GoPro. I actually highly recommend you get a GoPro because when I traveled around the world, I noticed all my best pictures were and videos was from my GoPro. But it's up to you. This is just for my personal input. Make sure you use your credit card to go buy this stuff because when you buy these things, you're gonna get points on your credit card, which you can use to redeem later for a cheap flight. And finally, get travel insurance because you never know when something bad is gonna happen to you while traveling, whether that you get sick or you get your stuff stolen and you need insurance to get your stuff reimbursed. Okay, and finally, step number 10, pack your bags. Double check your checklist to see you didn't forget anything. See if your bag is the correct weight for the airplane. Make sure that all your stuff can fit in your bag. And most important of all, have the most unforgettable time of your life. Well, I hope that you found that tutorial video helpful. And if so, go to the description below and sign up for the Travel and Live Free newsletter where you can get the 10-step cheat sheet to traveling around the world. You'll also get behind the scenes information on around the world travel for Canadians, how to earn income online for Canadians, and how to save money on travel for Canadians. So go ahead and do that right now. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments below, and I'll talk to you next time.